I like to say a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is a turbo PT Cruiser. Now this is a 2006. After 05, they went to the plastic upper intake. Now, also on top of that, this one is not a GT. It's like a touring model. So it has the standard brakes, disc in the front, drum in the rear. Another cool thing is it doesn't say premium fuel only, so it's already detuned, which means that this motor in this car is really, really nice. Okay, let's check this out. Other than that nice beep, we have 60,000 miles on this one. Okay, now I'm not going to start it just yet. I don't want to let out all the fun. But if you take a look, it has this control arm is pushed back. Obviously, there's no wheel here. Bumper cover was tore off. It has the bumper cover. The bumper cover's off. The control arm's bent. It actually bent this lower core support here and the transmission pan, but transmission's still good. So he drives around. Kind of did, just kind of got on a little bit quick and power braked it kind of, and it spun the tire. Actually sounded like it made boost really, really good. Let's check this thing out. I'll fire this thing up. Shut this door so you don't hear the beeping. Whoa. Quiet. Really, really quiet. You know, just kind of like a standard cloth interior. It's got the cooler, the new cooler radio in it. The horn don't work. There it goes. Really gotta give her a push. Just check this thing out quick. It's locked. It does say 2.4 turbo. Man, maybe this emblem right here would be kind of cool to put on a neon. They put their boost solenoids over here. All right, so I just kind of wanted to do a quick walk around. This thing's running. I'm getting ready to pull the motor. I did at one time make another video. I parted out an 08 convertible, and I kind of went over what parts were usable in an srt4 from this. There's not really going to be that many. The front knuckles you could use, okay? The engine, basically the long block all the way down. Everything on the back side of the engine you can use. You can use the solenoids and the pigtails if you need them. The power steering pump that's down here, that's the same. I think the rack and pinion is going to be the same. The battery is going to be the same. There's not really that much that is going to work on a neon from a PT Cruiser other than the main part of the engine. You can't use the starter. You can't use the flywheel. None of that stuff works. You can use the intermediate shaft axle off of here if you're putting this engine into a... Man, if you're doing a first-gen conversion because of the length of the axle, you'll be able to use the intermediate axle that's in here. Man, you know, you can use some stuff. The temperature sensor in here in this gasket, you know, if you need that, you can find them here. You could technically use this pipe if you're doing something with it, and then the way this is, it comes down through, you could cut it here. The one that comes off the turbo, you could use that, but the pipe down here where it goes onto the turbo here is actually fixed onto this pipe, but you could reuse this. So I mean, it has the oil cooler. I think maybe the power steering lines might be the same. We'll have to look into that. The control arms are the same. The front struts you can use. because they're made with a higher piece to be able to clear the 17-inch wheels on these. I think the downpipe is actually longer right in that area back there below the pipe to be used on a regular neon. Mr. Muffin out here. I got him. So that's just a real quick. Like I said, I'm gonna get on here and work on getting stuff tore apart, and I cut stuff out of the way when I pull these motors, so I'll show you what we do. Hell, we got a lot of stuff off of this engine and stuff because we're just going to drop this down. Normally I cut these off, but I did list this up on Facebook Marketplace, and you know, if somebody needs a couple parts for this for a PT Cruiser, we'll see if we can get a couple bucks out of it. If not, we'll save some of it, and the other stuff will go right to the junkyard when the time comes. So anyway, with that being said, we're down to axles and transmission mount, which we should be able to jack this thing up and pull it forward and just let this thing right down onto the ground, because we have everything out of the way over here. We actually removed the bent control arm here because we're going to stick another control arm in here because we just need this thing to roll. All right, so we've been working and we have a bunch of stuff pulled off here, and I'm trying to separate everything because I'm going to go over everything. This is a lot of the stuff that's actually usable. There's a couple other things here that I'm going to piece through in this pile, and when we get the rest of this stuff off the car that you can actually use for a PT or from a PT Cruiser for your SRT4, yeah, and then we'll go from there. But we're hooking this engine hoist up, basically just going to pull this thing forward, let it down on the ground, slide it out from underneath. Once again, this is an 06 PT Cruiser. Technically the control arms are the same. The rack should be usable. I don't know if this pressure line is usable. It might be. The return line is going to be different. The center mount's going to be the same. You can use the front struts. You can use the front knuckles, but you can't use any of the brakes. They're totally different. The motor, with everything on the back, is absolutely the same. You know, you'll have to remove this bracket. Flywheel is going to be different. This metal shield is going to be different. Alternator's the same. It looks like on these newer ones, this is the same. I think maybe the AC compressor is usable. So like here is fuel injector wiring you can use. O2 sensor pigtail. Stuff to the alternator you can use. The oil sending unit plug. Some of these plugs you can use off of the harness. The orange end, you don't use the green end because that's for automatics. Boost solenoids, same. All right. Now this pipe here, it's the same, but they actually use a plastic clamp here. So this is too short to go over for the SRT4. You can cut this and then use the SRT4 one, or you can cut this rubber and then space it over if you want to use that. Stuff that definitely fits: lower brackets, battery, power steering unit, map and tip, idle air, fuel rail, injectors. There's a bunch of bolts. Like I said, adjust the engine. This is different. This is different. Those are the only, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 things that need to be in the bracket. 5 things that need to be removed from this engine that cannot be used in the SRT4 if you want to drop this down in. Now, these intermediate shafts on these automatics, I believe that side is smaller. So it works for the first gens when you still use the T350 transmission and you want to eliminate the single axle on the other side. But that's it, man. Not much, okay? If this one was a GT and it had the rear disc brakes, you could use that stuff. That's actually for the brakes. The rotors, the calipers would all be the same for the rear. If it was a GT, the brake calipers would be the same. The caliper brackets, the rotors, they would be the same. And that's pretty much it, other than a giant mesh from an automatic, which I hate those things. And the catalytic converter, like I said, I think you could make that downpipe work if you needed to, but most people don't. The O2 sensors, are the same. You would use them. And then, like I said, a couple nuts and a couple bolts. But that's it, man. That's all you can use off of these things. Not much. But there we go. I mean, we got a really nice, very clean. Look at how nice and clean these are. 60,000 miles on this engine. I'm sure there's probably no cracks inside of there. Look, there's carbon buildup in here, but no. No, very, man, I'm like pushing on it hard. Very tiny amount of play. Just like, because it's used, obviously, but oil sensor's not leaking. All the exhaust bolts came off. Everything is nice. Look how clean the back of the head is. This was leaking. It's a weird, I think the newer ones all came with the plastic end. The block is just pretty nice. Dirt and stuff here. I think that was maybe this thing was leaking. But, yep, that's it. See ya.